And here's the last discipline. Discipline 3, the stewardship of talent. The measure of leadership is not how talent is consumed. It is how talent is sustained. Stewardship is what turns contribution into continuity, and continuity into culture. The majority of any organization is made up of individual contributors. They are the foundation on which every strategy, every system, and every service rests. Their names may not appear on strategy decks, but their hands and their minds carry every execution forward. And just because there is a choice for many does not mean the ones you already have should be treated any lesser. Their financial levers may be limited. A fixed salary, a narrow raise window, the constraints of role and structure. So, how do you inspire people to give their best when money is not the lever? You make them feel valued. You equip them with tools that help them win. You design systems that amplify their skill instead of containing it. You clear away the silos, the politics, the turf wars that drain their energy. Stewardship is not benevolence. It is responsibility. Responsibility to care for the very people who carry the enterprise forward. This is stewardship, not the extraction of effort, but the renewal of human potential. It is the quiet recognition that people are not a cost line. They are the very continuity of the enterprise. Stewardship means creating organizations where contribution is visible, where excellence is renewable, and where every individual, from frontline to C-suite, can see themselves in the company mission. Because just as a strategy falters without clarity and culture fractures without trust, transformation collapses without the people who carry it forward day after day. This is how transformation endures. From the spark of a few to the multiplication of the many to the stewardship that sustains all. Transformation endures when leaders steward talent, renewing it, sustaining it, and elevating it as the foundation on which the future is built. And the real test of stewardship is not in times of plenty. It is in the crucible of crisis. I've lived through 3 downturns that tested stewardship in very different ways. The first time I saw stewardship tested was in the shadow of 9/11. It was a double blow. The dot-com bubble had already burst. Layoffs everywhere, talent flooding the market. And then came 9/11. A shock not just to markets, but to human existence. The .com I worked for was being acquired by a Midwestern bank. I flew in to Milwaukee on September 10th to support the technology transition. My return flight was set for the 12th. But when the airports shut down and planes were grounded, I had to stay. A week in a city I did not know. And in that week, I experienced something that changed my definition of stewardship forever. My manager, my director, my vice president, each of them personally took turns inviting me into their homes for dinner. They gave me their personal cell phone numbers, copies of their ID cards. So if I was questioned by authorities, I could have someone confirm my identity. They recognized the fear, the hostility, the uncertainty of the moment, and they acted not out of policy, but out of care. That week left a permanent mark on me. When the acquisition closed, I had a choice: stay in Atlanta, where higher paying opportunities were waiting, or relocate to Milwaukee. I chose Milwaukee because, in the face of fear and anger, I had seen stewardship in action. And once you experience that, it becomes your reference, your frame of reference for what good looks like. The second time I saw stewardship tested was in the financial crisis of 2008. I had just moved from Raleigh to Long Island, taking on a new leadership role. And within 90 days, September hit, and the financial system went into freefall. Unemployment surged. Every 3 out of 5 households were touched by a job action. What I saw was leadership under duress. The executive team chose transparency, opening the books to show how much OPEX had to come out to remain competitive. The rest of the leadership fought to preserve every single headcount. Employees themselves offered furlough rotations, 1 week a quarter, to share the burden and preserve jobs. We still had to make tough decisions, but those decisions were made with fairness and discipline. Not tenure, not last in, first out, not favoritism, but contribution, impact, teamwork. Whether someone was helping to run the shop or to change the shop. It did not erase the pain, but it created trust. Trust that endured, because people could see the integrity of the process. That was stewardship in the crucible of finance. Fairness, discipline, dignity. And it was individual contributors who carried that execution forward, who made the transparency real in the day-to-day execution of our enterprise mission. And the third time I saw stewardship tested was in the pandemic-infused global downturn. We went from 2 accounts to 10 and then to 56 and beyond. But for that success to sustain, every single function of the organization had to be firing on all cylinders across North America, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. And then came COVID. The board and C-suite made a bold declaration. Not a single person would be let go. They established clinics and hired medical staff dedicated to employees and their families with no copay. They absorbed rising healthcare costs without passing a single dollar onto employees. They introduced flex hours for parents with young children. They ensured IT, HR, and sales operations had zero disruption. They even eliminated sales elimination teams. They made it easy to work for the company in a world of complete disruption. Work seemed to work. And in that improbable moment, we worked harder than ever. Not because we had to, but because we cared for the people who cared for us at a time when it was most improbable. From North America to EMEA to Asia Pacific, the message was the same. From the very top, the commitment was clear. We cared for the people who cared for us. But it was employees across functions who carried that commitment forward, turning leadership's promises into lived reality. That is stewardship in action. Not just sustaining business continuity, but sustaining human continuity. Because in the end, businesses do not endure on balance sheets alone. They endure because people do. And stewardship is what makes that endurance possible.